Kia ora ngā hoa mā. On today's video, in conjunction with the start of Matariki, or coming into the start of Matariki, which is a special time in New Zealand, I'm going to show you how to make Purerehua. Purerehua is a New Zealand musical instrument. So stick around and I'll see you in the video. Okay, so like I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to be making a Purerehua. Now if you don't know what a Purerehua is, it's quite often in English called a bull roarer. Sometimes it's called a jungle telephone. It's even called a thunder stick. In Māori mythology, the Purerehua is used to bring the rain. It's also used as a way of signalling, and you can send messages. It's considered a wind or a musical instrument, a wind instrument. And Purerehua literally means a moth, because they believe that the sound of the Purerehua is the sound of the puriri moth's wings as it flies. Puriri moths in New Zealand are quite a large green moth, and that Purerehua sound is the sound of the moth flying. So, as you would have seen in the beginning of the video, the finished item. So, to make that item, we need lots and lots of ice cream lids, and I'm lucky enough, one of my students brings me in lots of ice cream lids all the time, ice cream containers with the lids, and I keep the containers for crayons and stuff, but the lids I use for other things. And so what we're going to do is we're going to laminate them together in a similar process to our fidget spinner that we made in an earlier video, and I'll put a card in up here. Whoopsie. Okay, so we're going to laminate it together to make a big sandwich together item like that. Okay, and so I'm going to cut out this one first, and that's going to be my template. Now, I understand I've got this design on there, and I'm going to cut that out at the very end, and you'll see why. But if you've got alternating plastic coloured lids, fantastic, okay? And I'm going to laminate about 6 together, and the finished item should be roughly about that thick, and that's the thickness I'm going for. Okay, makes sense? So I'll come back when I've cut a few out. Now I've cut my first one out, and I'm going to use that as a template for the rest of them. Now, as a rule of thumb, I want to try and make the most of the surface area of my ice cream container as possible. So the easiest thing to do is, rather than working that way, you want to work lengthways, so you can really get the most out of all the plastic on your thing. Okay, back again. So I've cut out all my pieces, and I'm going to laminate them together, just like a piece of plywood. And you could use a piece of plywood if you wanted to. The only thing with that is you need a jigsaw or some kind of saw to cut out the thing, and then you've got to sand it all into a nice shape. With this, I've just used a pair of scissors, and it's just ice cream containers. Now to do this, I used the lids, but you could just use the ice cream container, the whole ice cream container, the base, the sides, the walls, the lid, and you should have enough plastic to get away with making one of these. Now, you can make them various sizes too, depending on what kind, because it all changes the sound. Even the shape changes the sound slightly. So as you can see here, I've left this on here, okay, this Māori stylized koru pattern. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out, and I'll show you why I've put this pattern on here. Okay, I'll be back when I've cut this out. So I've cut my piece out, okay, the koru pattern. I impulsively changed it at the last minute, okay. And that's what it's going to look like when it's glued on there. So that was a bit strategic, because I knew I had different colors of container. So you can do that. All this outside part is going to do is just strengthen the whole, and provide a thickness for my Purerehua. So this should be well thick enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start laminating them together. Okay. Now ordinarily I would scuff them so that they get a nice bond with each other, but these are quite rough anyway, and the manufacturer of these ice cream lids has the way that they've been molded, they've got quite a rough surface anyway, so I'm not even going to worry about that this time. Okay, ordinarily I would, but not this time. So I'll show you the laminating process. So I've got my hot glue gun here, and it's been warming for a little while, and I've got some extra glue sticks on standby. Now it's important that you get your materials or your lids into the order that you want to glue them ahead of time. So I'm going to work from the bottom to the top, okay? And all I'm going to do is chuck on a thick bead of glue all across there. Oh, rats, it's a blob. Trying not to get globules. Okay, be super generous with the glue too. Now the trick is, as well, is that when you stick them together, you want to work the glue to the outside of as well, so make sure that everything is stuck together well. Okay, I'm on to my last piece. Now I obviously don't want to just smear a whole bunch of glue all over there, otherwise it's going to come through in my pattern. So the best thing to do with this one is glue this side first, and when I go to make sure everything sticks down, I need to ensure that I'm pressing from the inside out, if that makes sense. So I'm going to work the glue from the outside. Okay, so you can see there, it's all laminated together now. Okay, yummy salted caramel. Okay, so that's the basis of it, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some cordage for it, and I'll put a hole in it and we'll give it a test try just to make sure it works. So I've got my Purerehua here, and I've got a piece of string. Okay, it can be any string. Ideally you don't want it to be too heavy a piece of string. I normally plait mine so that it doesn't break, but for this I'm just going to use this Hessian string. It should be strong enough, and I'm going to put a figure 8 knot in it. Now the whole principle of this is we want it to spin, so if the string is too heavy, it's not going to get a rotation going, which is key to making it make a sound. Okay, that should be perfect. Now I want something to be able to hold on to too, so I'm just going to give myself an overhand knot there. Now you can see, and I'll show you in a sec, that's right, you can see here that my string is quite long, and depending on how long you hold it depends on what kind of sound it makes, how deep or how slight the sound is. So the longer you hold it, it's going to get a deep woo sound, and if you hold it shallow, it's going to go woo woo. Okay, it's been a lot of kids, when they see this, they compare it to the sound of a motorcycle. So we're going to take it outside and have a play right now. So it's important that when you go to do your Purerehua, you give it a spin up first, okay? And that's going to help produce your sound. Okay, so I'm giving it a bit of a spin up to get it going, and you'll see in a second. Perfect. Okay, and this is the traditional Purerehua. So if you like this video, hit like. If you like the channel in general, hit subscribe. But for now, ka kite, and I'll see you the next time on Mr. Ashley's Place.